Okay, good morning, guys. I'm kind of really sorry I've not turned up these days. I had this hackathon I participated, which will last till Friday, sir. So that was what really took my time, and I couldn't reach out to you guys because of the stuff. It's to last 1 week, so it will finish this Saturday, and from then we have enough time for our own classes. So I'll just do a brief recording on the topics I was supposed to touch for those few days I missed. So I'll start with conditional statements. I'll just open a file. I'll call it conditionals. Yep, I'll call it conditional.py. So what's a conditional statement first? I'll start with the comments. So conditional statements are statements that are executed when certain conditions are true. And we use conditional statements in decision making. Let's say, for instance, we want to run a code if only a certain condition is met. That's where we use conditional statements. And we have many types of conditional statement. There's not say many, few types, which we have the if statement and the elif, and then the else, which we are going to touch all of them this night before moving to loops. So let me just give a brief definition of the conditional statement on my screen here. I'll give them this, and then conditional statements so that's a simple definition of conditional statement, and we have the syntax for conditional statements here. Since we are starting with if statements, I'll just give the syntax for if statements. We have if statements. We have elif statement, and then we have the else. Statement. So I'll start with the if statement. The if statement help us. The if statement executes a line. Let's say execute a line, or let's say block of code of code when if a condition is true. Is true, and this is the syntax for that. You have the if keyword and then the condition you want to test. Condition you want to test. After that, you have a colon, and then you move to next line. And then to organize your code, that is code in the if statement, after the colon you need to indent. It's either you use space for indentation or you use tab. We'll be using tab for it because tab is more easier than spaces, so that you will not do mistake with the number of spaces you use. So I'll just use tab here, and then the next thing we need is the statement. To be executed if the condition is true. Oh, that is it for the if statement. And we'll just do a simple example. Take note of it. We have the if the condition we want to test, colon, and then the statement to be executed. That is the code we want to execute if that condition is true, should be grouped together using indentation. And that is what we have on the next line. The space you see, there is indentation, and I use tab there, which is what we'll be using, so that we not make the mistake with numbers of spaces. So that is it. Let me write a simple one so that we'll test. I'll close my comments and then I'll write the real condition if, and then the condition can be anything we want to test. So I'll just use numbers. If 5 is greater than 2, that's the condition. 5 greater than 2 is the condition for this instance now. So I'll do next line, I'll indent, and then the statement I want to execute. If that condition is true, I'll just say print 5 is greater than 2. So if the condition I have here, if 5 is greater than 2 is true, then the next line of code I have there would execute. But if that condition is false, then the next line of code will not execute. I don't know if you guys understand that, so let me just try and explain again. We have the if keyword here, and then the condition we want to test. So if this condition is true, then this other line is going to execute. That is a block of code under the if is going to execute, and we can have multiple statements here. We can come here and say print. We can have as many statements as possible which would execute when if that condition is true. So I just come here and say print end of statement. Yeah. So I'll just say print end of statement there. And then if we try running this code, this is what we will have. Yep. It gives us the result. 5 is greater than 2. Print end of result. Because the condition we give there is true. That's why we have that guy. But if we put a condition that is false, then we should not see it. Example, let's do if 5 is greater than 9, which is false. 5 cannot be greater than 9. Then print this, print this. So if we test this guy, instead of, okay, let me just do this. If we run it again, it's not printing anything because that condition we gave there is false. The condition is not true, and the condition is 5 greater than 9. 5 cannot be greater than 9. That condition is false. That's why the code under it will not execute. That is the code we have grouped here together. The statements here, let's call it statement, you want to execute if that condition is true, will not run because the condition is not true. So these two lines of code we have here under the if statement will not run because the condition we gave there is false. So that is for if statement. And then the next one there is elif statement. So if this particular statement is false and you have a scenario whereby you have to be testing multiple conditions. Let's say for example we are writing a script that grades a student, which you have to test for. You want to grade a student, let's say from 80 to 100, you give the person A. from 60 to 80, you give B. 50 to 60, C. Then 30 to 50, D, and the rest anyhow. So you can write a condition like, if the student score is greater than 80, then print your grade is A. So what happens if the student score is not greater than 80? Nothing happens because we did not add any other condition for that. Same to what we have here on our screen. If 5 is greater than 9, print the 2 lines of code we have there. But if 5 is not greater than 9, nothing happens. That is why if we run it again here, nothing happens because that condition is false. So in case you want to execute another code or your code, if that you want to test for multiple conditions, yes. If you want to test for multiple conditions, then you include the elif statement, which is the second one we have here. And the elif statement is used to execute our code if the if statement wasn't true. Elif statement executes a block of code if the if condition wasn't true. So the elif statement executes a block of code if the if condition wasn't true. Condition wasn't true. So we have the syntax also for the elif, and it should also always be in the same indentation with the if. So the elif and then the condition you want to test if the first condition, that is the if condition, was not true. And after that, the block of code you want to execute if the elif condition is true, that is the second condition you have there is true. So you will decide to print or execute anything. So the elif condition, Python will only even check the condition, this elif condition, if the other one wasn't true. So the if conditions we have there, if it's true, then Python will not check for the elif condition. It will just skip. But if the first condition we have, that is the if in the if block, is true, is false, sorry, then Python is going to come to the elif block to check for it. if and you can have multiple elif, that is if you want to test for many other conditions or many conditions, and what you want to do if that condition is met. I will just call statements. Let me just call them statements alone. Save time. Typing. Okay. And then what? Then we have the last type, which is the else. The else condition or the else block work only if all the conditions we have above was false. As the else condition is the last condition is the last statement to execute if other conditions were false. Example is the condition we have here on our screen. We have the if I did not save that code. It was a big mistake. I did not save it. Okay, just write it again. So the last condition, there is the last statement, there is the else, which is only executed when the other conditions were not met. And we have the syntax for, I'll just put the elif, then the condition, and just call these statements. So just call these statements. Statement to be executed. I don't want to type multiple times, so just copy this and then just copy and paste. I did not copy, so I'll just type at once since the copying is not working. So elif, another condition we want to test for. And the statement you want to execute if that condition is true. So then, like I said, we have the last one, which is the else, and the else doesn't need any condition. So you indent also and the statement you want to execute. So what we have here on our screen is Python will check for the first condition here, that's in the if. To come to if, check for its condition. If the condition is true, then the block, the statement under it will execute. But if the condition is not true, Python will move to the next one, which is the elif, the first elif there. It checks for the first elif condition. If it is true, it executes the code. But if it is false, then it moves and check the next condition. Then we can have multiple elif conditions. we need. That if none of the conditions we have here, that is if and the two elif are true, then the else is going to execute. The else is just like the final option. If none of this work, then do this. So the else here is the last man. But if any of the conditions we have above here, that is the if and the elif work, then else will not. And that was just syntax. So let's add the elif here in our code. And I use students grading as the first example. So I'll change this. I'll say condition score, assuming that the student score is greater than 80. If the student score is equals to, or let's say is greater than or equals to 80, then we print your grade is A. And then the next line, I'll just congratulate the guy. So, but if that condition is not true, then do this for me. That is where we have the elif to test for another condition. So this other turn, I will check for if the condition is greater than if the condition is greater than or equals to, let's give it 70. Then what will happen is print anything you want to print. I'll just say your score, or your grade is B. So your grade is B, and you can have another elif here. Score is greater than or equals to, let me use 50. If it's that one, then you print your score is C. After that, we can have, like I said, we can have multiple elifs. So I will just continue till my conditions is off. So score to elif score is greater than or equals to 30. Let me just use 30. I don't know how a really great student. I'll just use this as a D. 30 should be D. So I'll just print So um if score, let me just close this and then open, like, okay, it's back. Okay, what we need next there is the statement to execute that the third elif is not working. So I will just print your score is D, and you can have as many elif, like I said. Score is greater than or equals to, I'll call this one 20, then do this print your score is E, and then we have else as the last guy in the team. Print your score. Oh, sorry, I was using grade, then later changed to score. I did not check that. Your grade is F. So we'll just go up here and change it so that it will make some sense. Okay, so this is just a simple code which we have, and how this code will work. Remember, Python executes its code line by line. So what will happen is Python will check for the student score. If it's greater than 80, then it will print A, congratulations. But if the score is not greater than 80, that is, if the condition there is false, then Python will check the next condition, which is the first elif. If the first elif condition is true, then it will print your grade is B. But if it is false, it will go to the next line to check the condition. So it will continue to check the condition, see if any of the condition there is true, then it prints the block, its block. Then if none of the conditions we have above is true, then the last one, else, would execute. And check the else, we don't add any condition to the else there, and the else is always kind of optional. Sometimes it's always optional, so I'll just save and then run the code to see. Yep, score is not defined. Oh my bad. So instead of putting a fixed score, I would like to ask the user to type the score. You see, your score is D. So what happened there is Python, I put score equals to 46. So Python will test each of these code, each of the conditions we have on the screen there. The one that is true, then it prints it out for us. And you can see the score assigned 46 to it. And I said here if score is greater than or equals to 80, print A. 46 is not greater than 80. It's not also equals to 80. So Python skip the if and go to the elif. So it checks its condition again. Score is not greater than 70. That is 46 is not greater than or equals to 70. So Python move to the next condition, which is greater than or equals to 50. 46 cannot be greater than or equals to 50. So Python will move again to the next one, which is greater than or equals to 30. Yes, 46 is that. 46 is greater than 30. So Python prints the statement under it. Your grade is D. Then skip the remaining ones, even the else also. So this is just a basic use of if statement which wanted to touch today, and you can have multiple conditions to test for. You can have multiple conditions. Example, I might decide to test for another thing here. I can have another condition right here inside this other one. I say if score is equals to 6, no, is equals to 90, or let's not use equals to 90. I will say it is greater than, if this is greater than or equals to 95, then print excellence. Yep, so print excellence. So what my code is going to do here is Python will check for the score. If the score is greater than 80, it's going to print out the block on its block, that is the statement under it, which is print your grade is A, congratulations. And Python would check for the next condition we have under the first if, which is if the score is greater than 95. So if it's greater than 95, the next line they would execute. But if it is not greater than, Python will then skip to the outer condition, which is the first elif. Then continue to test for the condition till the one that is true. It pick that one. So, and also instead of giving this guy a fixed value, I would ask the user to do that instead. So like we know already, we use input function to get information from a user. So I will just tell him enter your score. Okay, so that's it too. I will just run the code again and it asks me for my score. If I put 65, give the results. Ask again. If I put 96, then congratulations, excellent. If the guy is greater than 80 and is not, your score is A, congratulations. I don't know if you have seen the effect of the multiple if we have. The first one is we'll just check if it's greater than 80. Then we have another if condition under it. meaning that if the stuff is greater than 80, you see the two lines of code we have there. And then if the score is equals greater than or equals to 95, you print excellent. So when Python executes the first if there, when Python takes the first if condition and it's true, then the next two lines they would execute. And Python would check again for the next condition we have, which is the second if condition. To check if the condition is greater than or equals to 95, it prints excellent. But if it is false, Python moves to the outer condition to check if the score is greater than 70, and it will continue that way, continue checking each of the conditions till it reach the last. The last here is like kind of limits, so that if other conditions, which is the if and the elif, wasn't work, then the else will work. Just like you saying finally. Yeah, some programming language use finally instead of else. So that is it. That is the end of our class for today, and I will give an assignment so that in our next class you submit or explain to me. So the assignment I have is to rebuild this grading system that I have here on my screen. Rebuild it yourself using conditional statements. And what I need is use the best grading system. I don't know how to grade students. That is the score, the student score. You can use anyone you want to use. It must not be exactly what you have. I have here on my screen. So if the best way to grade students is from 90 is A, you do that. From 80 is B, you do that. I don't know it. That's why I was just using a sample here. But the assignment is to write a Python script that grades students. When the student enters his score, then Python should be able to assign a grade to a student, whether A or B. The same thing we have here on our screen. But to use my syntax, and you use the best grading logic you want to use, and give it a try. Submit it tomorrow before 9 p.m. We should have a session by 9 p.m. tomorrow. So you submit it before 9 p.m. tomorrow. Thank you. And also, I apologize again for not turning up these days. I had some hackathon, that is a competition I got involved with. So that was what really took my time. Thank you very much.